I had the impression that there was a plan being enacted. They were actually kind of huddling like you would think of a sports team, literally holding onto each other in a small circle.
Like a football huddle?
Yes.
That was an emergency room nurse describing what she saw in the lobby of the hospital the night Tex McIver shot his wife. McIver huddling with his attorney and Danny Jo Carter, the woman who was driving McIver and his wife when the gun went off. Here's what the nurse heard.
The first words that I vividly remember was the tell them, and then it was like a softer, you know, this is what you're going to tell them, as I was like walking past.
Okay.
So it was like more of a conversation that I was hearing, not like just a one-shot term.
So the question after this testimony, will the jury think that Tex McIver and his lawyer were trying to get his story straight with a key witness, Danny Jo Carter? Also today, more testimony about Tex's story that the gun just went off. So how does a gun just go off? That's a question I asked my legal dream team, defense investigator Charles Middlestat and prosecutor LaTonya Hines.
He said that the gun was in the console, but because they were going through the rough part of town, they took it out and they went over a bump, and then the gun went off.
How does a gun just go off if the gun's in a bag?
There's actually some criticism by reviewers who are familiar with this gun about the fact that this shrouded hammer is really tricky to operate.
Is there any way that you could accidentally double action shoot someone with that gun?
In my opinion, I don't see how that's possible. It's a 12-pound trigger pull in double action, and that would be very difficult for me.
You can't accidentally double action shoot someone.
No, I think that would be a very difficult argument to make. In the single action mode, it doesn't provide any resistance. I mean, if you accidentally hit that trigger, it really, in fact, some of the reviews that I'm referring to mention the fact that it's almost too light a trigger. You know, it's clearly not good gun safety. There's no question about that. It's certainly reckless to put a loaded gun that's been cocked in a bag in a console.
Didn't Tex say, "Give me the gun"?
Yeah.
Right. But the point is, he did not take the gun out of the bag. The gun was handed to him in the bag, and that's how, and it stayed in the bag.
Stayed in the bag.
And I think the evidence is going to show that when it was fired, it was still in the bag.
What does that tell you as a prosecutor, if the gun's in the bag?
If the prosecution's theory is that he took this opportunity to do this, the reason why you want to have it in the bag is because it makes more sense of saying it was an accident.
That's if you take that piece of evidence in isolation. The defense's contention is that the gun was in the bag laying on his lap, and that's going to be very consistent with the trajectory and the height of the entry hole. This is very consistent with the gun being on his lap. You can argue that it was laying on its side like this, could have been sitting between his legs in the bag. I mean, either one of those is possible. There's nothing about the evidence that is inconsistent with the argument that the gun could have been laying on his lap. Now, the only possible argument that the prosecution could make is if this was intentional, is that somehow he had it by his hip or something. But I don't even think that's possible based upon the trajectory.
But here's the deal,
because you would have a different angle.
What if he has it laying on his lap, but he still uses that opportunity to shoot her?
If your finger is near the trigger guard and you go over a bump, potentially, given the very, very light trigger. I mean, if it's in the single action,
but it would have to be cocked.
Which I think is the argument. I think the defense is going to argue that it was cocked.
Stay caught up with all the courtroom action on 11alive.com. We're streaming every day of the Tex-McIver trial and on our website, the 11 Alive Facebook page as well. And don't forget to join me each weeknight, 7:30 p.m. We're going to analyze each day's testimony and answer your questions, get your comments, because you are the 13th juror. We do it all live on Facebook.